With the Chiefs covering the largest spread of the season of 19.5 points, the Jets fall to 0-8 on the season. Here are my top 5 takeaways from this week's game. Welcome to Jets Talk. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, tonight, Monday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we will have our Talkin' Jets panel. It is our trade deadline special, so Matt O'Leary, myself, and Greenbean will be getting all the news out to you guys, talking about all our trade rumors. And we have special guest Ali from loyal NY Jets fans joining us as well, so make sure you tune into that for your chance to win a Just End the Suffering shirt. I'll be giving away one of those at the end of the live stream tonight, so make sure you tune in for that. Like I said in the intro, the Chiefs covered a 19.5 point spread. It's the largest spread of the NFL season. So let's bring up our Tankathon Leaderboard, and it shows the Jets are firmly in first place for the number 1 overall pick, followed by the Giants, Jaguars, and Dolphins by way of Houston. Could you imagine if Houston winds up getting the number 1 overall pick and having it traded to the Dolphins, who now already have their franchise quarterback, and then they can trade for a bunch of picks? Calm down, Ryan. Calm down. There's a big game week 9 against the Jaguars and the Texans. This is going to be a huge game for the Jets and who gets the number 1 overall pick. If one of these teams, specifically Jacksonville, because their schedule looks pretty hard the rest of the way out, if they can get a win, I'm going to feel a lot more confident in the Jets getting that number 1 overall pick. But let's jump into my top 5 takeaways from this week's game. At number 5, I have the Jets' weapons and who they were supposed to be at the beginning of this season, and that's Le'Veon Bell and Chris Herndon. Le'Veon Bell was released from the New York Jets after we failed to trade him. He signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, a high-octane offense, and he finished the day 6 rushes, 7 yards, 3 receptions, 31 yards. And then Chris Herndon, who we expected a huge year out of, 1 reception, 3 yards, and a fumble. And man, these guys have really sort of flopped in my view for the season. I was really expecting more out of Le'Veon Bell given the offensive line improvements. Chris Herndon missed all of last year. I thought he was going to build off his 2018 performance and really provide a nice spark for this offense, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Herndon, such a disappointment. Complete disappointment on the year. Bell, I think just looking at the way he's being played and sort of the pace at which he's moving, it feels to me like he's probably burnt up and not really the worst decision for the Jets to have released him. I hope he plays well the rest of the year, because then at least it sort of looks like it's an inept Jets coaching staff that couldn't handle him, and maybe it was just a good Jets defense today that stopped the running game. I don't know. That's basically our weapons not as good as we were hoping they would be, and yeah, not great for the Jets. At number 4, I have Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers. These guys are 2 interior defensive linemen for the New York Jets, and they are playing pretty well. This is a week in and week out basis that we're starting to get to talk to them more. Quinnen Williams, 3 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 QB hit. John Franklin Myers, 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. So they're creating a lot of disruption up the middle of this team. And I have really enjoyed watching these 2 play. I think they're going to be bright spots in this defense moving forward. Hopefully we can bring in some edge rushers this offseason, and we could really see what these 2 could have with a little more help on that defensive line. At number 3, I have Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes finished the day with 31 of 42, 416 yards, and 5 passing touchdowns. And he was pulled out of the game with 10 minutes left. So that stat line could have looked even more ridiculous. And Jet fans, if you were keeping track at home and you're like, man, that's a lot of passing touchdowns, I wonder how many passing touchdowns the Jets have on this season. Well, that's a real simple answer, and it's less than Patrick Mahomes had in 1 game against the New York Jets. That's right, the Jets have 4 passing touchdowns in 8 games this season, both with Sam and Joe Flacco. So we are very, very inept offense, and man, it is frustrating. So that transitions me into Eric Bieniemy. And Eric Bieniemy is going to be a very hot name for the New York Jets this offseason when we look for our new head coach. He's been a hot name the last 2 offseasons, and for me, he gives me a little, worrisome sort of feel about him. If we go with him, I understand, it looks like he's an up-and-coming offensive coordinator, possibly head coach candidate. I get it. It feels like a very Jets move to make to bring in the hot new name. For me, though, I'm looking at Andy Reid, and he's really the one that calls the plays. He's one of the best play callers in all the NFL, and NFL history, really. And then you look at Bieniemy, and when Patrick Mahomes goes onto the sideline, he's going through plays and he's looking through the screenshots of everything. He's talking to Mike Kafka, the quarterback's coach, not Eric Bieniemy. So what is Bieniemy really doing for the Kansas City Chiefs? Is he calling the plays? Is he designing the plays? Like what is his job? That's going to be my focal point when I look at him overall. Because for me, it feels like there's probably a reason why he wasn't selected to be a head coach each of the last 2 years. So it's going to be something to watch. I would prefer not to go with Bieniemy just because it feels very much like an Adam Gase kind of hire. Like, you have a generational talent in Peyton Manning, and, Adam Gase is his offensive coordinator. Let's bring him in. He's obviously a good play caller, and this is what we've gotten this season. Eric Bieniemy, sort of in that same mindset. You have a generational talent in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid calling the plays. Is Bieniemy really just taking advantage of a situation that he's in? And are the Jets going to wind up with Adam Gase 2.0 or something similar to that? At number 2, and it's a little bit of a bright spot, a little bit of a dark spot, that's Denzel Mims and LaMichael Pirine, the rookies this year, our offensive rookies. I would like to see more of them. Denzel Mims finished the day, 2 receptions for 42 yards, had a nice catch where he landed on his back. That was all in the first half, and then he had 1 target the rest of the game. LaMichael Pirine, on the other hand, 8 rushes, 27 yards, 2 receptions for 6 yards. So you're telling me there was 11 plays where these guys were the focal point of the play. Not to mention Denzel Mims is probably our best wide receiver right now, and he had 3 targets on the day. There were 35 pass plays called, 5 were sacks, so really 30 attempts throwing the ball, and he had 3 targets. 3 targets! How do you have your best receiver get 3 targets? I want this dude fed the ball week in and week out. He needs to get a fast track in learning the NFL, in learning the plays, in just getting open and just, feeding him the ball. Just get this guy more opportunities. The same thing with Pirine. I don't want to see Frank Gore touch the ball the rest of this season. What kills me with Pirine, he's in for 8 rushing plays. He gets the ball 8 times. So even when you have Pirine in, they're like, okay, they're definitely running the ball. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen right here. I don't know. Creativity, the Jets don't have much. But more touches from Mims and Pirine would make me a happy camper. At number 1, I have Sam Darnold, and he had another stinker of a game. No turnovers this time, but had 18 completions for 30 attempts, was sacked 5 times, and had 133 overall yards. There is no quarterback in the NFL that should be getting 133 yards in an entire game. That to me is sacrilegious, and it's just sort of reconfirming my thoughts that, hey, Sam Darnold's just not going to be the guy. It makes it a little bit easier to swallow, I think. Now, on the trade front, the Jets are going to lose a lot of trade value with Sam Darnold. There was hope originally maybe the Jets could sneak out a late first-round pick. I have sort of been on the train of the second-round pick is what we'd get for Sam Darnold. Now, as each week kind of progresses on, I don't know if you're even going to get a second-round pick for Sam Darnold. And I almost had my prediction correct. He got tossed down and landed on his shoulder. It came up real slow, that one hit. And I thought for sure the Jets would try to IR Sam Darnold for the remainder of the season just to let his shoulder heal, let him, sort of embrace the tank, if you will, if you have Flacco running the show or even Morgan running the show. And then you sort of still have your trade asset that could get healthy. But Sam came back in and just continued to really not be that great. He's continuously missed deep threats down the field. I believe it was Jeff Smith was running wide open, and Sam overthrew him by like 3 or 4 yards. This is the type of play that a quarterback in the NFL needs to make that changes this game totally. It makes it like a 16 to 20 game or whatever it was at halftime. That is a play that needs to be made. It's a play that would keep us in sort of at least contention with the Chiefs. Like this game was more competitive, at least for the first half, than I really thought it was going to be at all. And quarterback play has absolutely been a detriment this year, along with play calling and along with a lack of weapons. Like there's a lot wrong with this team, and Sam's not the main factor here, but man, he's certainly not helping himself. So guys, those are my top 5 takeaways. Let me know what you think of everything down below in the comments. Don't forget to get your Just End the Suffering shirt and tune in for our Tuesday Talking Jets panel, which will be Monday today, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, to get your chance to win a Just End the Suffering shirt. Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, go Jets.